And now be sure to call us with your questions at 1-866-583-8814. Now let's move on to our next topic, scams. Anyone can be a victim of a foreclosure or mortgage modification scam. The best defense is accurate information and asking the right questions at the right time. The Better Business Bureau has some good advice. Now in our next story, Barbara Mallory, the victim of a scam, wishes she'd paid more attention to some red flags.
Better Business Bureau, how may I help you?
Every day, the Better Business Bureau of Houston receives a number of calls on different kinds of scams. To avoid housing scams or mortgage scams on loan modifications, the transaction in which a lender agrees to modify any or some of the terms of the mortgage, please listen carefully.
You've been contacted by someone who's going to help you with your mortgage. You send them money, and then months later, you still haven't heard anything from them. The other thing that we haven't seen that much of, but is a lot in the news, of course, is when people sign their houses over thinking they're going to save their house that way, and they actually give it away by signing a deed. A lot of these types of scams fall into all the others. They're all preying on people who are vulnerable, preying on using words, especially now that we have a change in administration and one that talks about change, and hope is a big word.
In 1993, financial institutions created subprime loans, which did not meet prime lending standards and were highly risky. Many first-time homebuyers did not understand or did not read their mortgage contracts carefully.
When you go to a legitimate closing and you're getting a mortgage, they should go through every piece of paper that you're signing, explain to you what all those papers are. When they're telling you, and this happened a lot in the subprime things, like, well, don't worry about that. It doesn't apply to you in this case, but initial here anyway. When anyone tells you that don't pay attention to this, then you should.
Barbara Mallory was the victim of a mortgage scam a few years ago. She and her husband needed a partner to buy a house and sell it after renovation. They met a man interested in the project who asked for their credit report.
We thought that was legitimate. We've never, been involved in this kind of thing before, so we went ahead and did that, filled out a credit app, and it went downhill from there. He got credit cards in our names. He took the credit app and purchased a home for us in spring. He also bought us a townhouse in the River Oaks area. Somehow we got stuck with that bill as well for over $25,000. I had been diagnosed with breast cancer. My husband and I were not thinking. We made some stupid moves. We didn't think about what we were doing because we were so concerned about my health issues at that time. We have all these documents stating that you indeed have been scammed by this gentleman, and nonetheless, we were foreclosed on with the house, and we are still responsible for that payment. We have lost all of our credit. Our cards were all stripped from us. I just don't trust anybody anymore. If you are thinking about doing something along those lines, my suggestion would be take the paperwork. If it's a legitimate thing, there's not going to be any problem with the other person on the other end. Take that paperwork, have an attorney read it, look into the legality of everything.
Besides checking the HUD, or the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development website before purchasing a home, there are 4 rules to remember when buying a home. Check the mortgage company and the broker's track record, and if possible, work with people by referral. Be careful with companies that want to keep your transactions secret.
This should not be a secret. You want to make sure everybody knows who you're doing business with and what you're looking at doing.
Never sign anything you don't understand.
You should never sign your property away to anyone who says that they're going to, we're going to take your house and you're going to live here, and then we're going to make the payments and you just pay us rent.
If you're facing foreclosure, go to a HUD-approved agency for free counseling.
It's very painful to find that someone's giving a couple of $1,000s to a rescue company when they could have been applying it to their debt directly. Can't emphasize enough to contact legitimate agencies. Make sure you're looking at the actual HUD website and make phone calls and ask first. Research.
Finally, some words of wisdom. If it is too good to be true, just say no. And when in doubt, check it out. Call the Better Business Bureau, 713-868-9500. Now, Sherry, I know you've been seeing a lot of people, and all of you have unfortunately run into people who face scams. Give us some examples of the most common types of scam and how to recognize them.
Right now, what we're hearing more of are the folks that are being requested to pay money to someone that'll pay their mortgage for them. They're asking them, in some cases, to go ahead and pay this firm, but not make any payments for so many months. Because as we hear out there, they won't work with you unless you're late, which is not true. They will work with you if you have a hardship. So again, we're seeing that people are signing contracts, they're signing their deeds over. They're hoping that because it's a fee-based service, because they're paying some money, these people must be legitimate. They look nice, they smell nice, they sound nice. After all, they're their friends.
Right.
But in reality, it's a terrible path to take.
And the people are so vulnerable. That's who they go after. Now, Rob, let's say I realize I watch this program and I am a victim of a scam. Right now, what's the first thing I need to do?
Well, if you haven't already talked to a counselor, I talk to a counselor first and really go through, here's what I have. They'll be able to help you and identify whether it's a scam. If you think that you have a scam, call the Attorney General's office. University of Houston Law Center has a Texas Consumer Complaint Center. Houston Bar Association has a number of resources that can help. Legal Lines is a call-in thing. We have consumer clinics across the city at different weekends. And as I understand, we have that on the 211 and also on the website.
On our website as well.
But you can get more information there. But don't be afraid. Don't be embarrassed. These people are slick. They're good. I mean, I've gotten documents myself. You know, and I
that
read
you
them
wonder,
and
this
I go,
looks good.
I mean, these guys are good.
Yeah,
It's like,
they're very good. They're very good to do bad. We have a phone call from Craig, I think it is. Clint, I'm sorry. Clint, what is your question, please?
Yes, I was calling. I have a mortgage with Bank of America, and they had set me up. I did get behind with the mortgage. They had set me up on a payment plan, and I started paying the first 2 months of that plan. And then Bank of America, another person from Bank of America called me back and said that wasn't the best program, that I should wait and get refinanced again and let them set me up on another program. Then they did this twice. They called me up and told me to hold on. That wasn't the better plan. Then they finally came back and said, no, I didn't qualify for the plan now. And now I'm waiting in limbo to see if I can qualify for a new plan now. But this has been almost 13 months now.
Okay, Clint, thank you. Let's see if we can take this on. Any of you want to answer?
I'm always leery when someone tells someone else not to make payments. And there may be plans for that may be so. But at the meantime, as we still have to take ownership of our property. So the money that we should not be paying or not paying, then we should be putting it someplace in the event that the plan that the new plan is not working. We should always have enough interest in what we're doing to save toward what we want to keep.
But what should he do? I mean, he's had 2 phone calls, and it sounds like he's getting the runaround.
Did he already enter into the first plan? Did he already do a modification? And if he's already done that, then abide by that plan until something else comes in place. Don't hold off and not make payments.
Patty, also, if he's under a trial modification, because a lot of the times the banks will put you in a trial modification. Let's see how well you're going to do for the next 3 months.
Right.
And a lot of the times the collections department continue to make those phone calls. They continue to send letters out.
Okay.
So he needs to keep a record of who he's talking to, what department he's speaking to.
Right. So, and also if maybe he needs to talk to a counselor, housing counselor to get some.
And we would ask him to bring all of his, whoever he's talking to, they would ask him to bring all of his history of documentation so that the housing counselor can then get on the phone with who he's been dealing with at his lender and figure out what's happening.
You need to talk to somebody in person, it sounds like to me. We have a question from Deborah. Deborah, what is your question?
My question is, I am not behind in my house note or anything, and I was on an escalating interest rate, and my maturity date is next year. And I have a loan with Bank of America, and I'm not past due or anything. And I've been trying to get my house refinanced, and I've made several calls, but they keep telling me I don't qualify for any plan, but yet I still hear that there are plans out there. So is there any way you can assist me with getting with the right person to get my home refinanced?
Deborah, we're going to try. Anybody want to take this on?
I'll try once.
Go ahead,
All right,
Steven,
here
go
we
ahead.
Under the Obama administration plan, when they talk about you do not have to be behind, but you have to call in and try to find out if you qualify for the program. But generally, under the Obama's administration plan is for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. If you're not with that, FHA just came out with a letter July the 30th saying that they're coming out with a program for FHA.
What is
in
FHA?
August the 5th. The Federal Housing Authority, which is connection to HUD. We talk more so of HUD than we do FHA itself. So the first thing to do is find out what type of loan that you do have.
Right.
And after you've identified the correct loan, then pursue what avenue that you have for refinancing from there.
Again, it sounds like she needs to talk to her housing counselor.
Yes.
What are the most common tips to avoid scams? You want to take that one, Swan?
I'll try that again.
Okay.
Okay. The first one I would say is look around, see what the problem someone else had. And what I'm saying is learn from someone else's mistakes. Second one, besides from contacting the housing counselor, you also need to contact some of the professionals involved in, such as the website for HUD, HUD.gov, or the Federal Trade Commission, FTIC.com, and talk to someone who knows about housing. I mean, don't talk to your friend who may be good at plumbing, but you need to talk to someone who's good at housing and have a concern about it. Right.
That's true.
Well, it's time for a scam, too. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, if it requires payment, be leery.
If it requires payment, that's a big red flag, because you're supposed to get the service for free.
If it requires you to sign any documents, make sure, have them read by an attorney or someone, because people are having your house deed over and the lease back to you, and they said, "Oh, it's temporary." Well, if it's not in there, we never agreed to that. It's all in writing, and they'll kick you out. So.
And that leads to my next question: how do you get out of a predatory loan using the Truth in Lending Act? Is there such a thing to do? Are you able to do
but
that?
It's very fact specific. It's very detailed, and that's why it's best to go to a counselor. And then if there's legal assistance needed, then call a lawyer. I mean, seriously, the Truth in Lending Act is a morass of
and that's coming from a lawyer.
Yeah, it's complicated, and they always have the standard, this disclosure. But when you get back into the detail, it's very deep. It's very complicated.
So it's complicated.
And very fact specific, and I think you need to get a lawyer involved. But I wouldn't just pick up the Yellow Pages and go to a counselor, go to the legal aid, call Legal Lines, and just see if the referrals that Lone Star Legal Aid and there's various places that have assistance. This is a good time to be in a foreclosure situation because 2 or 3 years ago you would have been out of luck. You would have had Lone Star Legal Aid and a few other things, but now the task force has been set up. The HBA has a consumer task force. The consumer complaint center.
Complaint lines.
There's a lot of resources out there. You just got to be get off and do something, and don't be afraid.
There's a lot of billions of dollars invested now in helping people keep their homes, which was not the case before. Now, Gabriela, what about I've seen this already, and the fake websites that look exactly like the ones we were just seeing. And that's why I had to put him on the air, because they're just so close. They have the same colors, the same look. How do you protect yourself from them? You have to be very careful.
Yes, you have to be very careful. And the first thing would be ask yourself, if you're struggling to make a mortgage payment, why would you go and pay another company for a service that you can get for free in many places? So just be very, very careful.
Short sale, what does that mean? What is it?
Well, a short sale is when you and your lender, or your lender has agreed to accept a lesser amount than the payoff on the loan through the sale of the property. Now, we hear that's another thing with, I would say, one of the scams that could be out there, where people are saying that, well, let's short sell your home. It's not an individual's choice to do a short sale. It's not, I want a short sale, so by golly, give it to me. Right. Yeah, it's up to the lender, and it's a negotiating piece with the lender servicer and the investor on the loan to accept a short sale, an amount less than the amount owed on the loan for payoff that would release the person or the owner from any liability.
What are y'all's thoughts about mortgage insurance? When do you recommend it? Never.
No.
I mean, like a the guarantees from the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Right.
I mean, if you qualify for those loan programs, they're good because a lot of times that gets you an ability to get into that mortgage when you wouldn't otherwise have the credit to do that. I mean, it's basically a governmental plan or a quasi-governmental plan standing behind that mortgage, versus just going out and doing a straightforward mortgage with Bank of America or Wells or whoever. It gives you some additional credit worthiness. A VA, you have those guarantees behind you. I think they're good if it's truly a legitimate numbers that you can make. I mean, sometimes mortgage brokers, you can afford this, or we'll do interest only for 3 years, and then you have that balloon, then you get a problem. So.
Thank you. We have to end it there. And be sure to call us with your questions. The number is 1-866-583-8814.